Hi, I'm Dawn.
And I'm Ashley.
We'd like to welcome you to the Work It, You Are Worth It podcast.
We're two friends sit around and talk about healing, growth, and healthy relationships.
Hey, Ashley.
Hey, Dawn, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Got some shit going on, which I'd love to talk with you. But how are you?
I'm good. We had some ice and snow Friday night, so we didn't
Mm,
do anything all day Saturday. So I'm
that's
very
kind of
well
nice.
rested. Yeah, it was. We literally didn't even leave the house.
Mm.
It was icy, it was snowy, everything was closed. So we literally, me and Cameron just stayed at home all day and hung out. It was really nice.
Oh, that's great. And actually, that's funny that that's what you mentioned because that kind of leads into what I wanted to talk
Beautiful. How so? Go
about.
ahead. Let's go. Let's get into it.
Okay, so you and I've talked, you know that, right? This is a very busy month and a half for me with work. I'm working extremely long hours. Everybody, and like anybody that's in Coda knows that this is the month and I'm just feeling. Um, so what's just a little bit of backstory for everybody. My work, my job, my personal job what I do has been transition and two people were transitioned off my team and I stayed. And there was a period of 6, 9 months that I was really didn't have anything to do and nothing was necessarily taken off, but I wasn't getting anything new and some stuff was taken off, then some stuff it was just this whole thing. And I kept saying I was bored, I was bored, I was bored, right?
So
Well,
you had like 6 months where you had like nothing. You were just
yeah,
bored every day.
yeah. Like there was days that I would do one thing and then I was just like hunting for things to do. Like I'm like, oh, let me watch this training. Oh, well, let me watch this. And that, right, I'm not just like that also is valuable stuff.
But boy,
And
is that boring and does it make the day take
oh my
forever.
God,
Those are the
yes.
worst days when I'm like, I need something to do. I need to go find something to do.
Right?
And to have 3 or 4 of those days in a row where you're trying to find stuff to do, that makes work be
It's work then.
right. It makes it drag. It's
Yes.
frustrating. You're looking for stuff. Like my favorite part about work is that I can go and turn my brain off of everything
Yes.
else and just focus on whatever I'm doing. And I'm
That
I'm sure for you, like it's numbers too, right?
Right, right. I love that you say that because that's 100% what it is. I have always been able to segregate my life, my personal life. And that's one of the things I love about work is all my shit that I would have going on at home or outside of work. I could leave it at the door because I could just bury myself into work.
Right. Because you
And
have so much to do that as soon as you finish one thing, you go on to the next and you're nonstop busy. So you
right,
don't have time.
my to-do list is so dang long that it's like just
Yes.
right. And so I didn't have that for some months and it was driving me crazy. So I kept complaining about it. And I got to the point where I was like, is my job secure? Is my, um, what maybe do I need to look somewhere else? Maybe within MetLife. And like, I just really started having these thoughts. And I didn't do anything because I kept talking to myself saying, no, having a conversation with me, patience, HP, what's going on, right? I've had these conversations. And so I made it through it. And one of the things I also had to think about was maybe there was a reason that I had that downtime, right? Maybe I needed that rest. I don't get downtime at work. That was HP's way of forcing me to have it. Where I actually could log off at 3. I was logging off early and met my employer is very much about work-life balance for the most part, and they are trying to make it where we're not killing ourselves but I was at the other extreme. Anyways, well, um, at the end of December, I all of a sudden got all these like we're gonna have you do this, 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 and so I went from nothing to oh my God.
Yeah.
Um, Usually the first couple of days of January, it's normal hours. I don't work the first couple of weekends. Um, it's just
Right.
very, it just kind of ramps up, but it's still busy, right? That's the only way I can do that. I still have to be head down for 8, 10 hours. but that's how I get away with not having to work till 11 or work the weekends, you know. Well, this time around, now because I have all these new tasks that I've never done before, now, oh God, now I'm opening a file for the first time ever. So that learning curve of taking a
Right.
minute. So I felt really, really overwhelmed in a, it's not that I've like been angry that I have so much work or I mean, I love that part of it. I love being busy. I love not having to sit here and do nothing. So I'm not complaining because there's too much work, but I'm also, oh my God, there's so much work and how am I going to get all this done? And Colin, God love him, tells me, "Well, Mom, you're the one that said you were bored. You're the one. Maybe you shouldn't have said it. Maybe you shouldn't have said it out loud."
I
And
mean, we do get what we ask for.
we do get what we asked for. And again, not complaining because I'm not good with it. And I thought that I couldn't get, and I'm finding out, right? I'm right. I'm an intelligent woman. I know that. There's no
But it's
question.
hard.
It's different.
It's a lot, and you're trying to learn it, and there's deadlines. And is there some sort of little voice in the back of your head that says you can't drop any of these balls that you're juggling
Yes.
because if you drop it, you're a failure?
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Right?
Yes.
Like the way that I do that analogy, I love what you're saying because I've dealt with this myself, especially at work here recently. There's so many things on my plate that I'm trying to keep everything from falling off, but I'm so busy trying to keep everything from falling off my plate that I'm not able to take any bites of anything to make room for everything.
Right.
And that's just how it feels some days, even though that's not necessarily how it is.
Right. And then I have some other factors going on. So I'm right. I saw a new primary care. I got a new primary care doctor, and now she's wanting to, because I haven't seen her before. She's like, I want to do this and this and this and this. So I've got that stuff going on. And then I have the guy coming in next weekend, which I'm super excited about. Which I want to share some of that as well, some conversations that have occurred, which have found very interesting. But so now I'm like, right out that added pressure with work, like I don't want to work next weekend. I'm not going to work next weekend. So what does that mean? Well, I got to make sure that I'm ahead of the game. So now
Right.
I've that added pressure of, okay, normally I would be like, I'm fine because I'll work Saturday. No big deal. I'll just work Saturday. But I don't want to do that next weekend. I'm not going to do that next weekend. So now I have to be ahead of the game so I don't feel like when I go back on Monday, I'm behind.
Right. You're playing catch up. So,
Yes.
but now how much of this is actually worry about work versus subconscious anxiety about the new guy coming versus and twisting that into the fear about work. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do actually. And I think I'm not going to say it's not related at all because I know it is because there is that I want to be able to devote the time that I with him to get to know him without, but at the same time, I'm also there's this piece of me that's like, well, this is me in January. This is me in the beginning of February. Um, and that's okay. And right, I know I could work if I needed to. That's the one thing with him I know, like I know, but um, I don't want to. And so then it just kind of adds this additional pressure. And the other thing too is, and what kind of what you were saying about yesterday being able to have that day of downtime. I have been go, go, go since January 1st. Like I haven't had a day off. It's been nonstop since. And right, we're 12 days in. I'm tired.
Yeah.
And so there's also like yesterday, like, well, oh, I had to get up and go to therapy. I had a sponsee call. I had to work. Then I went, I didn't have to go, but I need some self-care. I wanted to get a mani-pedi. I went out for quick bite to eat with a girlfriend. Yes, most of that was fun, and it wasn't at home. It wasn't
Right. You didn't get to just sit and be inside yourself or numb out or
right.
I mean there's something to be said and I never used to do this, but there is something to be said about taking a day to be alone. to
Yeah.
just sit with myself, play on my phone, watch TV, clean my house, fold my laundry, just hang out at home and don't interact with anybody but the people
Yes.
in my home.
Yes.
There's for me, there's definitely something to be said for that. And it
Yeah.
took me I mean, it took me 40 years to figure that out, right?
I used
Like
to think it was not good. Oh, you're just, you're right. But I know now, and I think recovery gave that to me too, that it's okay for me to take that time.
recovery definitely gave that to me because I didn't like I
Yeah.
never would have thought about it
I,
before.
I felt
And
like a
now,
failure because I wasn't doing something.
right, now there's at least one day a month where I just stay home.
Yeah.
Like at least one, usually it's a weekend day, but there's at least one a month where I don't do any extra work. I don't interact with a bazillion people. I literally just stay at home and do things around the house.
Yeah. And for me this month, because it's normally I would like one day a month, maybe 2 days a month would be fine. But what I'm finding when I find in January, February, what I find is because it's on at 8 a.m. and I'm still on at 11 p.m. And when I say on, right, it's me being in accomplishment mode, I guess.
Work mode,
Work mode, right?
nonstop from morning to night. From the time I wake up, I go straight to the shower, dress, go to work, and I work nonstop until I go to sleep.
Exactly. And then I struggle sleeping because, right, my brain's still on.
Yes.
And so then it's 1, 2 in the morning. Then I have to get up and so it's this nonstop. And so I get tired. But anyways, so today so I did that last night and I'm today I'm supposed to be going to a musical and with my kayaking and camping friends. And last night I'm just like, I don't know if I want to go. I'm just tired. I just want to stay home. I just want to do nothing. I also know that next week, right? Again, I'm trying to play catch up or get
Yep. You're
ahead.
going to be super busy.
So I need to clean my house, right? I mean, I'm having
You
it
need
doesn't,
to refuel,
I do.
right?
Because if
Like,
I don't take care of this stuff that I need to get done, I'm going to be so stressed out by Friday because, oh, I didn't get this done and I didn't get this done and I didn't get this done.
and you're already 12 days into low fuel, right? Your fuel gauge is
Right.
on E already. Like you're
Yes.
talking about being tired and you might cancel this musical that you want to go to. So you're already on E. If you don't refuel, you are going to remain on E and
Hmm.
then get lower and lower and lower. And then by the time Friday comes, when you finally stop and you look up and you're like, oh, I can breathe, it's time to go pick him up from the airport.
Yes. And so this leads me into a kind of a conversation that him and I had, and I found it was really interesting. So we've talked about intimacy a lot in
Are we talking
meetings.
about physical? Oh, everybody, you
No.
mean
Yeah, we're
physical
talking
intimacy, emotional intimacy,
I'm
and
a little bit of all of it. So it's a little bit of all of it. I'm using intimacy as an umbrella, but also that place of vulnerability. Because, right, really, intimacy is about vulnerability.
right,
And,
absolutely.
yep. And so, um,
I'm sorry, real quick. When you say all of it, we are talking about physical intimacy, emotional
motion,
intimacy, and spiritual intimacy,
yes,
and
correct.
intellectual
And
intimacy.
intellect, correct. So we have, with him, I have been able to have intellectual intimacy. We've had long conversations, deep conversations, all of those things. We've talked spiritual and we do, right, we're very open with that and can, right, use the words that we're both safe with and all of that. Then we have the emotional intimacy, and that is also something that has been, well, and again, all this has just been on the phone. So there is, even though there's been conversations with it and it's impacted, there was still this place of, and I guess what it is, you know how there's insecurities. We all have insecurities. I have insecurities. And so now there's these stories in my head because he's going to be here next weekend. Then there will be sexual intimacy, emotional intimacy, intellectual intimacy, spiritual intimacy. All, like right now, we're face to face, so it's all got to come up. And I'm the sexual intimacy aspect of it is right. There's like I'm a mom. I've had two kids. I've had a 12-pound baby. I'm 54. I've got some start with the crepey skin. I've got, I think all those stories. And even now I want to say this. I love myself and who I am, right? I look at myself in the mirror and I can see my 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 belly at the bottom that I have because Colin was so big. And I know that's Colin and I wouldn't change it for the world because that was just Colin. Right. I love who I am. And that doesn't mean I don't have insecurities when it comes to what other people, especially in an intimate relationship, will think. Will they think I'm beautiful? Right. And so I had all these thoughts. And again, I know how to have a conversation with myself. I know how to, okay, Dawn, you're not being reasonable. And if he has a
Right. I
problem
can
with
talk
it, blah,
myself
blah,
out of it
blah, da, da,
logically.
da. Yeah.
Right. You could talk yourself out of it logically all day long,
Right.
but that
And
doesn't mean it connects.
exactly. And I have really tried really hard, keeping it up, keeping it up. Well, anyways, so the other day he called me and he's getting excited. I'm getting excited. And so now we're in the, oh, 5 days from today, 4 days, whatever. And so he calls me and we're just chatting and he's like, he goes, I hope that you're not disappointed. I hope that, like I hope that I'm enough for you. I hope that I'm good enough for you. That you're just not going to be disappointed. Right? He's like, I have a dad bod and when he said that, I was like, oh my God. Oh my God. And so then what I did was I feel the same way. I'm like, I'm over here to thinking this, thinking this, thinking this, and this. We had a conversation about it.
How open and intimate and vulnerable is that?
And that wasn't right. It wasn't, I think the thing about it wasn't I started it. He started it. He
Right.
said it. And so then it was like, oh, wow. Okay, well, I can reassure him with my own insecurities and we can have a conversation about it.
He opened up a safe place for you.
Yes. And that is what made me let it all go. It wasn't the logical conversations with me. I mean, right, that helped. I'm not going to say it didn't help, but like you said, it just wasn't like letting it go. But when I had this safe place where, okay, this individual understands what I'm feeling because he's feeling this, then now I have a safe place. And so all my feelings can come out and I can say what I need to say and I can let them go. And normally, and I was struggling with this before because I felt like I had nowhere to go with it. Meaning I could come to Coda, right? And I could come to you clearly. But there's also part of the recovery is me navigating this stuff myself. And right, I have made it very, I'm not like my mother knows a little about him now, but I'm not sharing that with her, which I usually overshare. Right, my friends know about him, but I'm not oversharing because I'm really trying to have an adult relationship. And in
Right.
an adult healthy relationship, I don't need to go outside of myself to get validation. I need to go to either to myself and then I need to have a conversation with my partner and then that's how I need to navigate this.
And your higher power.
And my higher power, very much so. Um, and so I was just kind of, and then this just, I asked, I had been saying to HP, just help me let go of this, help me figure this out. I don't want to be this way. Right. I'm like, I don't want to be this way anymore. I want to know that I'm enough. I know that I'm enough, but I just need you to help me, HP. And he helped me. He didn't help
Look at
me.
that. He like the guy opened the conversation up and made it safe after you gave it to your higher power.
Yes. But he gave it to me in not the way I would have expected. Not, and
Right. What you expected him to do was take your insecurities away and just
yeah,
make you feel better.
right,
You just wake up in the morning and no longer feel
right.
insecure about anything.
That logical flip, like you said, the logical side of it, just the switch flipped and I was good. And okay, now I know. And so I can let it go. And it is what it is and da da da. But also, that's not realistic either because I don't know any different. Right, I think we've talked about this a lot lately. The logical side of me knows, but then there's that other side of me that as much as I want it to know and I know, like I know logically, it's just not.
Like it just doesn't connect in my heart when it connects in
Yeah,
my head. And just because I know something in my head doesn't mean I feel it in my heart.
right.
And I need to feel it in my heart if it's a healthy thing, right? Like I know my insecurities about the way my body looks is not a healthy thing. And I know in my head that I am gorgeous and I'm beautiful and I'm lovable and I'm
Hmm.
right. I know that in my head, but I need to feel that in my heart. And then
Right.
I can't stop trying to tie the two together. Otherwise, I'll never feel beautiful. I'll
Yeah.
just say I'm beautiful.
And so then once we talked about this, and I said it to him and he's like, no, he goes, that's why I tell you good morning, beautiful every day. I tell you that because to me you're beautiful and I've never seen you. You're beautiful. It's your soul. It's your this. It's this. This is what's beautiful. And I'm navigating it, right? This is such a new thing for me to have a level of intimacy with someone that I've never met, first of all. And I think that's, I mean, I've met him once. I think that's the other thing that is messing with my head too.
Right. Like I don't know you face to face in person as like I think that's what's hard for me. And it's kind of crazy we're talking about this today because I was talking to my teenager about it this morning,
Oh,
and I used you for an example, believe it or not. Um, like I just don't like that is something that is in me, that is a judgment, that is a preconceived notion. Like I don't know how I could date someone from another state and get to know them and really truly trust and believe and develop this true relationship. You know what I mean?
yeah,
That is the same kind of preconceived notion that says somebody can't go to clown school and make $1 million,
right. Y-
right?
It's so, oh my God, I didn't even connect that. I didn't even connect that thinking I've never met you face to face ever, ever. But you are one of the people that I consider the closest to me.
Right. We have never seen each other in person, not one
Uh-uh.
time. And I wouldn't think for a second that you weren't my best friend.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like
Yes.
I trust you. I would trust you with my life. I would
Yeah,
trust you with
same.
my children's lives.
Same.
I would never, there's zero second thought about that. But we have never seen each other face to face.
And I did not associate that. Like until you just said that, I never compared it. I never compared it to you or right or there's a few people that I have, but you are that unique individual for me. Um,
Me too. Thank you. I love you.
I love you too.
But it really is, right? Like we have developed this amazing, intimate, trusting, supportive relationship
Yeah.
without any face to face connection. So if you and I could do this with each other and feel this confident about it, why could it not be with a significant other? Like, what's the difference?
And like I don't feel like and like now that I have this correlation I did not even consider. Like I think about like I get everything I need from you. Sitting in a room with you does not matter to me, right?
Right.
Right, it doesn't matter. I mean, God, I would love to fucking hang out with you. I'm not even gonna
Oh, hell
lie.
yeah, for sure. And we will.
We will. We will. But I don't feel like anything's missing in our relationship because we're not physically side by side.
Yeah. I mean, and I agree 100%. Like don't get me wrong. I'd love to go to
Right.
dinner. I'd love to go out and have a couple drinks and
Yeah. Be
but
great, but
I definitely have never had a conversation with you and walked away from it like, oh damn, it would have been so much better if we were in person. Like I've
exactly.
never thought that ever.
And so then I have this guy where it's like if I trust you explicitly, so how can I not? And it just because his sex doesn't matter. And I think that is the other factor I need to wrap into my head. Right? For me in romantic relationships, individuals have not been trustworthy. And there are a code of people that I've interacted with that are not trustworthy.
Yeah.
Right? Right? But that doesn't mean this individual can't be trustworthy. If I'm vulnerable and I'm open and I do the same things I've done with you, with him, then I should be okay because as long as I should be okay, not him, right? Because I don't know what he would do, but so far he has not been anything but honest. And right, just the vulnerability for me. I've never had that level of vulnerability where somebody has said to me, "I'm worried that if I'm going to be good enough."
Yeah.
So if I feel like someone that is that open with their own insecurities and felt safe
Mm-hmm.
enough, to me, that says a little bit, that adds to his trustworthiness.
For sure, because he's being authentic. And if you
Right.
could be authentic with your insecurities, then you can be authentic with other things too.
Yeah,
Like it
exactly.
definitely being authentic and being vulnerable with somebody and sharing the things that you're afraid of, it definitely helps people open up to us.
Yeah, and then I think the other thing, I've said this so many times about this situation with him, it's not about him, right? And it is, but you know what I'm saying? Like this has given me is this gift, and I really look at it as a gift that I know no matter what, and I got it with my friends, I've gotten it with you. It's just kind of like, right, it started with you. It started with our one dear, wonderful person who we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
I shouldn't even say it started with you. It started with him.
Yeah. It
It
started with
started with
him.
him. And then it was you, and then it's like now, and then it's my friends, and I don't, but even my girlfriends that I hang out with every weekend, and the one I was with last night, right? I don't have the level of intimacy I have with them that I have with you.
Right. Like, I mean, I have some people in person that I'm friends with here in North Carolina,
Hmm.
and I love them, but I would never assume that I'm just going to go crash at their house.
Right.
But if I ever came to Florida, I would assume I was going to come crash at your house.
Well, shit, you told me you were like the other like while back, you were like, I think I might come.
Thanksgiving. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm like, yeah, but come on, come
Yeah, I
on.
can't believe I was going to go down for Thanksgiving. My
Uh,
brain. But that was
it's
like back in August,
it,
and I was considering coming down for Thanksgiving.
that was
And
a whole
then,
that was a whole.
geez, wow. I can't even believe I was considering that.
That's
I
okay.
mean, we got to think about where we were and what was
Yep.
happening and the
What you
perceptions that
knew.
we had, what we thought we knew versus what
Yep.
we know now.
What you knew at the time. You were yes, that you knew it.
Wow, I can't believe I was even as I look back now, I cannot believe that I was ever considering coming to Florida for Thanksgiving. That just blew like and as I look back now, not only was I considering coming to Florida for Thanksgiving, but the reason I wanted to come to Florida for Thanksgiving was to see if there was any need for me
Yeah.
to move there. If there was any point in me actually uprooting my entire life and moving to Florida. And to look back 6 months now, I mean 5 months to
Hmm.
August when I was considering that and the where my head was versus where I am now, it's just mind boggling. It's just a 180-degree difference, and it's awakenings and realizations and
Yeah.
just growth. And it's just crazy how much perceptions can change in just such a short time.
But I think the thing is like you said it, right? It's what you knew at the time, but now you know different stuff. So now you get to make decisions on the different stuff you know. And I think that's where the growth comes in, right? I can
You're
only
right. I can't beat myself up about thinking
no,
that.
no,
Nah, I can't.
you didn't know. You knew what you were being told, you knew what you knew at the time, and it changed. And that's not bad because that's also maybe HP's way of saying, yeah, no, Ashley,
Yeah.
you need to move on. It's time to
That was
move
my
on.
HP's way of being like, here, look, here's some facts. Think about this, consider this, and then just wait 6 weeks and you'll see reality.
Yep. Yep.
It's so crazy.
We don't necessarily like the way he does it. HP does it, but it does work out.
And so, right, I mean, that's to go back to where we were
Yeah,
before we got sidetracked because we're so good at that.
I know.
I think just the fact that someone does not have face to face um intimacy with us,
Hmm.
communication, face to face conversation in person does not mean that significance of that relationship cannot be just as much, if not more, sometimes than those people that we do have
Right.
face to face intimate conversations with.
One of the things I heard it's been years ago, and it really stuck with me, and I think about it so frequently. Um, I want to say it was Steve Harvey said it, but I can't tell. I mean, I don't know for sure, so I don't remember who said it. But it was talking about relationships, and what it was saying that so many people lock themselves into their area thinking that that's where they're going to find their person. They're going to find, right, the
The one.
the one, the love of their life. And he says our world is big. When we what if someone that is who we have a true connection with isn't in that area, and we're going to miss out on it because we have this idea that I can't go out of my area? He said, like, I think, and the person was like, we're not in the times where it took weeks to get to someone. Now we just jump on a
Right.
plane, right? We have FaceTime. We have all of these things that in tools that we can. So we're cutting ourselves short if we just say, I'm going to meet my person here because, well, now you've just made your world smaller.
Right. Well, and I mean, hell, these days we have Zoom. I can turn on
Yes.
my video camera and carry you around my house, and
Yep.
it's the same thing as you being here in person. I was on the phone with a friend the other day, and I've known this person for like 20 years, but we don't live in the same
Mm,
state.
yeah.
And we probably talk maybe an hour or two every week or so. And we were on video chat the other day, and he was like, let's watch this show. And we sat down over the freaking computer and watched a television show together.
Right.
Like it's the exact same. It was very, very similar. The only thing missing is that physical connection. And I mean, frankly, unless we're talking about a significant other relationship that I plan to have sex with eventually,
Right.
I'm not so worried about that physical connection.
Well, that's, I think, the thing. And I think that's what I, and the other thing I really want to say about this is, and part of one thing I love with you and I, and we've never been face to face and all of that, right? And we're not missing anything, is I think, right, I am so selfish. Like I need my space. I need and we talked about this earlier, the being on, right? I'm on. I
Right.
feel
I
like
need to
I'm
be able
on.
to turn off and get some alone time.
Yes. And so one of the things that I was going to tell this was we were talking about, um, I was like, yeah, I really want this weekend to be about you just getting to know who I am because I'm many people. And he's like, yeah. And he's like, I'm this person when I perform or when I sing. I'm this person when I'm doing the clown. I'm this person when I'm doing this. And I was like, yeah. I said, I'm on with work. I'm on with recovery. I'm on with everything. And it's like normally I just want to be off. And so when I'm home and I have a day, like I'm a homebody. I want to just sit on my couch and just be off. And he got that. And I think that's the thing is right. What I've done in the past is I found people that I thought because I wasn't authentically me, ended up getting people that were not good for me, like matches.
Right. Because I'm trying to pretend that I like the things they like or I believe the things they believe so that they will like me. And
Right?
then I end up with somebody who likes somebody who was pretending to be somebody that they weren't.
Exactly. Because now you have two people pretending and then we come together and it's just not going to work. It's not sustainable. And so,
That's how Nick and I were when we met.
yeah, okay.
Right? Like he was pretending to be somebody who didn't have an alcohol problem, somebody who didn't have a drug problem. And I was pretending to be somebody who had everything all together. And
Yep.
come to find out, right? He's an addict and an alcoholic, and I'm a codependent.
Right.
Right. Like, and neither of us were in treatment, neither of us were in recovery. And we just continued to pretend to be what we thought the other person wanted until we fell into this cycle for 17 effing years,
Yeah.
right? It was insane.
Nobody
But
changed. It,
that's how everyone does it,
yes.
right? Like I
Yes.
watch people start dating and they're like, "Oh, we're going to go see this movie." And I say something like, "Well, but you don't like horror flicks." And my friend says something like, "Well, yeah, but he does and I want to spend time with him, so I'll just sit through it and I'll just close my eyes and pretend to be watching it." What?
But
Why not tell him you want to go see a different movie? Well,
yeah.
because then we won't go to the movies.
So then don't go to the movies.
But right, I would do the exact same thing that my friend did, and I would have
I'm
gone and watched the
same
horror
here.
flick too. Not now.
Same
Not
here.
anymore, but before recovery, like
And that
that is society.
it is. And that applies to not just the movies, right? That applies to everything, in sex included.
There's another person in my life that I know, and this person just started dating someone as well.
Okay.
This person does not like birds. This person hates cats. This person thinks that dogs belong in their bed laying down. The person that this person is dating, and I've known this person for 20 years, so I know that that is what this person believes.
Okay.
The person that they are dating has three large birds,
Oh shit.
has three large dogs who bark all the time. And I don't remember what the other thing I said was.
The
Oh, and
cats.
has two cats. And has two cats.
Holy fuck. That's all
But
I
the
can say.
person that's dating them is pretending to not
Hmm.
mind these things, maybe not pretending to like them, right? Like maybe the bird's not sitting on the person's shoulder and
Right.
right, maybe they're not kissing the bird,
But
but they're
ignoring.
pretending that
Hmm.
they don't mind. When in reality, I know that that bird squawking sounds like nails on a chalkboard to this
Right.
person's ears. So they are just pretending to be someone they are not in order to be with this person. And 2, 3, 4 years down the road, the person they are dating is still going to love this bird and want this bird,
Yeah.
but they are going to be sick of the bird because they can't stand it.
And that's and I know, like I've done this in every one of my relationships of, oh, I can overlook this or
Oh
it'll be
yeah, me
fine,
too.
right? And what is it has gotten me? Oh, now I'm in, right. I don't want to say I wasted, but I am going to use that terminology, right? Oh, I wasted 8 years of my life on my first husband. I wasted 15 years on my second husband. I wasted 6 years on the guy that brought me to Coda, right? So all I wasted my life because I wasn't being me,
I
and
hate the word
I
wasted
do
as you're
too.
using it. It's
I do
making my
too.
skin crawl.
But and and that's why I prefaced that I didn't waste it because right, I wouldn't have my boys.
Right, but
I
what other word can we use, right?
exactly.
Yeah, I lost. I don't know. It's not
I
wasted, it's not lost. But
lost.
like
It's
we spent this time on this person pretending to be someone we weren't. Like
yeah.
I can't say that I've ever looked back and intentionally pretended to be someone else. But I can
No,
say
right.
that I looked back and I pretended to be okay with my dog having to be in its bed 8 hours a day.
Yep.
I can look back and say I pretended to be okay with liking slapstick comedy, right? I can look back and say I pretended to be okay with liking going to bars,
Right.
right? I can say I pretended to be okay with so many little things that when I look back at it, all of those little things added up to pretending to be someone I wasn't.
Yeah. Yeah. And I just am at a like and like I think that's where I'm at right now is I'm learning if this is all I get out of this. Right now I'm going to call it a situationship because I don't know it's like
No label, this situationship.
this situationship. It may be right. I don't know I'm just what I'm going to call it. Anyways, if the only thing I get out of this situationship is the fact that I learn that I can be vulnerable with an individual, and that I matter to them, and they show up. That's all. I mean, that they can show up. I'll take it.
What if all you learn is that you can be authentic
That's
and
it.
vulnerable and they may not show up and that's okay too?
That's really what I was trying to say. So thank you for yeah.
Right? Like I can show
Exactly.
up and I can be me and this could not work out and I'll still be okay. And that's huge.
Right. And I also know, like, I'm learning too that there are people out there because, I think some things happen too when we get into, oh, I'm never going to find anybody. Because right now, when I start looking into, like, I look at relationships and recovery of what I want, I don't want, and I don't want, and I do want, and it seems like the population, the pool kind of shrinks.
Yes.
And so then there's like, oh, I'm never going to find that.
Well, I mean, right? Like at this point in my life, I'm like, yeah, I'm ready to date, but I'm not going to start with the apps. I'm going to meet someone in person. How much did I just shrink my pool?
Exactly.
And then the only places I go is work, home, and the grocery store.
And do you want to date somebody you work with?
No,
Right? Do you
I
want,
can't date somebody at home. And
right?
how many people do you meet at the grocery store?
Right?
Right?
Because
Like,
everybody's ordering shit online. So
so the
forget.
pool is just
Mhm.
so shrunk down that it, right? So if you're not willing to meet somebody outside of those perspective zones, then, you got to be willing to at least wait for a long ass time.
So one of the things I heard recently too that I thought was really interesting, because like I said, I've been navigating this whole my feelings and all this. So I've been listening to a little bit, few more. I used to listen to them frequently, but I um have tried to get back into listening to like relationships and relationship podcasts because I am was trying to soothe myself and but anyways. So one of the things I heard too was we all our social media, we go on private because we don't want this. We go on this because we don't want this. But then again, that is nowadays is such a way to meet people. That and so now again, we've shrunk our world down.
Yeah.
So, and I'm not saying that people should go out there and make their Facebooks on private or, like, but how many times do you hear people, oh, hear this person slid into my DMs and we just started talking and it worked out, right?
Right.
And I think the thing is we do this harsh, right? Oh, I don't want to see this, so I'm just gonna make my, or I don't want to, I'm gonna make my Facebook private, or oh, I'm gonna like lock this down. But what we're doing is we're closing off our world as well.
Yeah.
Instead of being able to say, I can protect myself, I can unfollow, I can block, I can this, I don't need to shrink my world, but I can take care of myself and get what I need and do what I need to do to protect myself.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's hard to put yourself out there, put myself out
Hmm.
there and to realize and really, really take in, right? Feel in my heart that I am safe
Yep.
no matter what I say, right? Like I can say, I don't really like that food and I'd like to go somewhere else to eat.
Yeah.
And nobody's going to like turn around and attack me. But for me, I'll be in the car and they'll be like, oh, we're going to go get Chinese.
Okay.
And my heart starts pounding and my voice gets
Yep.
shaky. And I'm like, okay, even
Yep.
though I don't
Yep.
eat Chinese, right? Like I don't ever eat Chinese. I have a thing against going into a Chinese restaurant. It's nothing personal against the Chinese. It was a situation that I had when I was a child and I got sick after eating it. And
Oh.
I threw up all over the back of my dad's head, my stepdad's head, while
Oh.
we were driving home. It was not pretty. It was traumatic.
Uh-huh.
And because of that, I don't eat Chinese.
I don't eat McGriddles.
However, if I was going on a date and we were in the car together and he was like, let's go to Chinese, there's a 50-50 chance, especially if it's a first date.
Right?
And 4 years ago, right? If it was a first date 4 years ago, there's probably an 80% chance that I
Yeah.
would have just gone and gotten Chinese.
Right?
Now I wouldn't put myself in that position because we would decide where we were going before we were in the car, but that's a
Exactly.
different conversation.
100%. Right? Like, and I think that's the thing, right? It's yeah. Anyways, yeah. So I just, for me, I'm just really trying to navigate this and I'm trying to and one of the things I want to go back really one of the things we were talking about, making our world smaller and not putting ourselves out there. Right? All I did, and again, I don't know what this will be. I said you asked me the other day if I was making him bigger than he was, and I said I
Right. If
was
you're putting him on a pedestal.
right. And I'm not putting him on a pedestal, and that's what I said to you, but I am hopeful. I am hopeful. There's something in that I see in him that I haven't seen before, and I'm hopeful for what it is. It doesn't mean it will be, but I am hopeful. And go,
I don't think it's ever bad to be hopeful.
no, I don't
I
either.
think I think that if you were to come into this with any lens other than hopeful, it would be a negative lens.
Right.
And it would be setting yourself up for failure.
Yeah. I
I
mean,
mean,
trust me, I could put the negative lens on. Right. And I think we talked a few weeks ago. Was right. The whole, I went to the, like the
right.
money
You were
thing.
trying to put the negative lens on.
Yes.
You were getting scared, and that's normal.
Right.
And right when we get scared, we tend to revert back to those survival
Yeah.
patterns, and preconceived notions and judgments are a survival pattern.
Yep.
So when I start getting anxious about, oh God, what if this doesn't work out? Well, here, let me just pick out all the reasons why it won't work out. And then I'm going to feel better when it doesn't.
Yeah. Because
And
it
it's
goes
just
back to that.
subconscious.
It goes back to that place we were talking about, like that's safe. That
Right.
spot of being safe was, oh, I know what it feels like when it doesn't work out, and that's safe for me because then I don't have to put myself out there. But no,
Right.
no,
But
no,
this
no,
might
no.
actually work out and it might actually become something. And holy crap, how scary is that if this is the best thing I've ever had?
Right. And just because he's in New Orleans and I'm here doesn't mean it can't be the best thing I've ever had. Right? Because maybe that works for me. Maybe right now, because I'm still learning to not lose myself in a relationship. This is what is the HP's like, you know what, Don? I'm going to give this to you. Right? You can't lose yourself in this because he's not here. But you
Right.
can also learn that it's okay to trust someone, and a person that is trustworthy deserves trust. And like I said, I'm just taking it for what it is. I know there's like for me, there's a lot of conversations around it, but I think it's this is where my life is right now. And I I need to talk about it in a safe spot and navigate these feelings, but it's what I think the thing is, it's like I have that safe spot. I have that safe place with him as well that I can do this. And so now I have two safe spots.
Yeah.
Um, but I do encourage, like we talked about making our world smaller and getting out there, and like I met up with a girlfriend in New Orleans and she was busy that day and I just walked around the streets all by myself, walked into a bar. Oh, he's cute. I'm just gonna hang on. I'm gonna hang around just because the music's good and he's cute, right? It's pleasant to look
Right.
at, right? Why not? Um, HP took over, but never never minimize where you can meet people. And that does not just about romantic relationships. That's also with friends. That's with um just anything.
Mentors, guides, right? Work situations. Like you could meet anybody anywhere. It's
But
crazy.
but you got to put yourself out there. It's not going to come find you.
Right. Like if he hadn't approached you and sat down and talked with you, you guys probably never would have even spoken.
Oh no, because I just was sitting there enjoying the view and listening to music and having some drinks.
You
I
weren't
was
ever going to go up to him and talk to
Oh,
him.
heck no.
And
But
then had you not left your number, you
right?
guys probably never would have spoken again. So it
Exactly.
it literally required both of you putting yourselves out there in
Yes.
order for it to go somewhere.
Yeah. And it was really, he told me this the other day. It was really interesting. He says, I actually met you and a couple other women at the like right around that time. And I was, I was talking to, talking to all three of you. And I think I told you, one of the first things he asked me is what was my political stance? Um, and he says, I asked that of the other two as well, and both of them were very conservative. And he goes, you're the only one that was like, oh, fuck no.
That's
Um,
funny.
So again, right, this is a right HP. That was an HP moment because one of those other people could have been just like me
Right.
from a
They could
political
have.
stance, right? And I asked him about from a religious stance, right? Somebody else could have been just the exact same fit, and it might not be where it's at today. I just, right, but I came to the table authentically me and let whatever happen happen.
Isn't that funny how that works out?
It is really crazy, isn't it?
So I'm trying to think of things in my life as we talk about that have worked out that way for me.
Uh-huh.
And the biggest thing is my job. So I
Yeah.
started this job 2 years ago, right in the depths of my coda recovery, right? And one of the things I have been extremely cognizant to do is to be authentically me at work. Like, I don't bring my personal stuff to work.
Hmm.
My personal life is personal, my work life is work, but I am still authentically me at work. I am vulnerable at work. Maybe not as vulnerable as I am at Coda, right? Because they're
Right.
two different things, but I am still to a certain extent vulnerable at work. And I feel like by putting myself out there, by being vulnerable, by being authentically me and just going in and doing what I feel is right now, in this moment, what do I feel is the best decision to make? And making that decision and following through with it, I feel like that is what has allowed me to excel at my job.
Yeah. I think I think that's it, right? Just being authentically you in every aspect that we allow it to be. Um, the fake Dawn, the Dawn that's scared and hiding and ashamed, like
I
right.
don't like the word fake because it's not the fake Dawn. It's not the
Not
fake
true.
Ashley. Like I was still me. I just had a mask on because I was afraid to be vulnerable with other people
Yeah.
and with myself. Hell, I was
Well,
terrified to be vulnerable with myself.
very good point. Very good point. Right. It
But
was,
I wasn't fake. I was always as real as I could be. I just wasn't authentically vulnerable.
yeah, you're right. You are right about that. And yeah, because
Sorry,
you're
so
right.
keep going. I'm
No, no,
sorry. I
no,
didn't
no,
mean
no.
to interrupt you.
No, I'm really glad you said that because I did use that word and I think that's an old feeling. That's an old thought that I was fake. And you're right, I wasn't. I wasn't.
Right? In that
I
if
just
you
didn't
would have
know.
right, if you would have asked me 8 years ago if I was honest and if I was caring and if I was compassionate, I would have been like, absolutely, I'm the most honest, caring, compassionate person I
Right.
know. But if you would have asked me today if 8 years ago I was authentically caring and compassionate, probably not because I was so wrapped up in my codependency that I didn't know what I was doing.
Yeah. And I think I also didn't know, right? If somebody would have said exactly what you said, where you were authentically yourself, right? I would have said yes as well. But I think I didn't understand what it meant to what that word authentically meant.
Right. And I didn't know who I was.
Right.
Right. I had these core beliefs: be honest, be kind, be
Yep.
compassionate. But I didn't know, how do I say? I didn't know who I was. I didn't know, where does being kind differ from being a doormat, right? Where does
Yeah.
being compassionate differ from being a people pleaser?
Right.
And I didn't have the ability then to see how being a doormat or being a people pleaser was manipulation on my part to try to get people to do what I wanted.
Yeah.
I didn't know it. I didn't have the awareness that I have now to be able to see what I was doing then. And so if you had asked me then, I would have been honest and I would have said, yes, I am being authentic. But when I look back now, I definitely was. I mean, I was authentic to a certain extent. It wasn't right. I think it's the depth of
Yeah.
authenticity.
Yeah. Well, it was the depth that I knew. That was it. It was what that I wasn't deep then. Like I didn't.
Yeah.
Right. I was going as deep within myself that I could go and feel safe.
I have a new understanding of the word shallow,
Mm.
right?
Sure.
Back in the day, I used to think shallow meant you only care about how somebody looks.
Hmm.
And yes, to a certain extent, you could use that for the word shallow to describe that. But shallow is so much more, right? As we talk about being deep and going deep and the depth of our authenticity, the depth of our intimacy, being shallow means there is no depth to that,
Hmm.
right? I don't have the capacity. I am shallow. I'm only 2 inches or 2 feet deep. You can't go 10 feet deep in a pool that is only 2 foot deep. So the word shallow to me, just as we are having this conversation, it just got a brand new meaning. Um, right when it used to be like, oh, he's shallow. All he cares about is looks. But now it's when somebody is shallow, in my opinion, they don't have the depth needed to create authentic, vulnerable
Right.
intimacy.
And that is something for me that is a requirement in a relationship, right?
Yeah.
It's just in this from where I'm at now, if I don't have that, it's it's just not going to work. And it's somebody knowing that that doesn't make understanding that me having vulnerabilities, me having insecurities, me it doesn't make me less than. It doesn't make me anything,
Weak.
right? It's just I'm human and right? I have some days I'm more insecure than others. And that's okay. Insecurities are okay.
And I can love myself and believe that I am lovable, loving, and loved,
Yes.
and still be insecure about some things.
Yes. And a person, again, not, it doesn't have to be a romantic, a person, anyone that comes into your life that is worth being in your life is gonna be okay. They're not gonna see those insecurities. They're gonna see the loving, lovable.
Right. I mean, they'll see the insecurities, but they'll
What?
accept them and they won't bother them.
Right. Like the,
Right. Like, whereas somebody else is going to see those insecurities and have to change them
yes.
because they're scared. Those
Right.
insecurities make them uncomfortable. So they have to change you.
One of the things I think just using something we've talked about a lot is, and actually had this conversation the other day with somebody, the too much. We both have heard all our lives we're too much.
Yeah.
We're just too much.
Too loud, too excited, too happy, too whatever, too much.
Exactly. And the right people, to me, you're not too much. To me, you aren't like you're just Ashley, right? I don't see
Yeah.
you as you're excitable and I love when you're excited. I love when you're vulnerable. I love, right? You're never too much. And the right people will never find us too much.
As you say that, I think about my people, my village, and I
Yeah.
have a couple different villages, right? I
Hmm.
have my personal home village, which
Yep.
my children, my sister, my brother, my father's,
Yep.
like my cousins, I have my personal home village. And then I have my work village, which is my coworkers, my
Hmm.
team in the warehouse and fabric that I've hired and work with me day to day, as well as the other coworkers that are in other teams and other departments that I work hand in hand with every day. And then I have my Coda village also.
Yeah.
And as I think about those three villages, it has taken me no less than 4 years of being in Coda. But in those three villages, I'm not too much.
Right.
I don't have like there's one or two people that I know I kind of tone down a little bit around and I interact with them less and less every week.
Yeah.
But the other people, I'm not, I've never had them be like, dude, you are just you're
We just,
extra. You need to chill out
yeah.
and be for real with that. Like I love that I have a couple of guys at work on my team. There's two that I'm thinking of, and God, if they ever hear this, they will know I'm talking about them.
Hi.
Anytime, yeah, hi guys. Anytime I have to be me,
Hmm.
I go interact with them. I
Okay.
can walk up and I can start, they call me a drunk squirrel. It's so funny. I can walk up and start dancing and singing, or I can walk up and an off the wall joke,
Yes.
or I can walk up and be mad as hell and just vent.
Yep.
And these two guys, like, they don't care. They don't, it like, I have neither one of them have ever looked at me and been like, whoa, Ash. And I promise you, there's a million people in this world that have looked at me and I'm like, whoa,
You're like,
Ash.
oh, yeah.
But these guys don't. And I feel welcomed. Like I feel safe with them. Now, please don't anybody twist that. They're both basically married. One is married for several years. I am not. There's nothing like that. But they are.
We shouldn't have to make that preference because I get along and I interact with with a man doesn't mean there ever has to be anything. And I hate that our society does that.
I hate that our society does that too. I do. And yet at the same time, I feel like I have to preface
Right.
that because there's going to be someone that hears this and is like,
Hmm.
oh, she's messing with one of them. And I'm not.
No.
But I love those
They
guys.
wouldn't be safe. They wouldn't be a safe, like they wouldn't be able to be,
Right.
right?
They
That's what
wouldn't
they
be
don't,
who they are if we were messing around.
right?
But I genuinely like, and I think about I'm just using these two guys
Yeah.
as an example because it's the easiest one. But as I think about my Coda village, I think about my personal village, I think about my work village, I have people in each of those villages that I know I will never be too much
Right.
for.
Right.
They just accept me for me.
And that doesn't
And
mean just sorry to interrupt you,
no,
but
you're good.
right, you're talking about work village and Coda village. That doesn't mean everyone at work falls in is
Oh, no, no, no. They are
right.
not in my village. Not everyone at
Right.
work is in my village.
Work
No,
isn't the village. There are people within work that are a
who
village.
are
There
the
are
village.
people
Right.
within Coda that are your village.
Yes.
Not everybody gets to be in my village.
Even in my family, right? Even when
Right.
I talk about my personal life, there are people related to me by blood, marriage, and lifetimes of connection that, as much as I do love them, they are not, I don't consider them my village.
Right.
I love them. I'm a part of their village. I will support them. I will uplift them. They are never too much for me.
Right.
But I know that for me, they are not safe.
Right.
I am too much for them. And therefore, if I am too much for you, you are not my village. I
You
need a village that I am not too much for.
right. You know what's really interesting, and this just popped into my head, and I'm thinking about the villages and thinking about my family. Even clearly, my mom is not in my village, and I that doesn't mean I doubt my mom
Dawn,
listens,
my mom is not in my village
right?
either. That's one of the main people I was just thinking about.
Yeah, right. And that doesn't mean I don't love my mother, right? I don't think she still listens to the podcast, but I love my mother very, very much.
I'm in her village.
I'm in her village. I am a key individual in that village, but my mom's not in my village. And right,
Isn't it supposed to be that way though?
I
Like when
think
you think
so.
about your kids. No, I take that back.
Me too,
No, I
because
take that back.
yeah, because I'm gonna say
When I
something
think
else
about
about my
my
kids.
kids, I am in their village. I am their biggest supporter. I am 100% in their village, no matter. I don't know if they would say that though.
Yeah.
I
Um,
don't know. My oldest daughter might not tell you that I'm in her village. She might tell you that
that
she's in my village. I don't know.
so that's interesting because that's actually where I was gonna head after making the comment about my mom is my boys. So I look at my boys and I love Dylan, right? He is very much like we've talked, a codependent relationship has been a codependent relationship. We are navigating recovery together and finding a different place. And I look at Colin and there is two very different villages.
Relationships. Oh yeah.
Yes.
When
Colin,
all three of mine are very, very different.
yeah. Colin is the individual, like, and it's so funny because he's the younger of the two that I can interact with him in a much more like we've been having conversations about next weekend just right he's here he hears things but he can come and he can have a conversation and he's like oh I just want to meet him because he seems to make you happy. I just want to these kinds of things and just little comments he makes. But then there's Dylan who can't have those conversations. And I don't know what it is, but it's I feel like sometimes Colin is in my village, but Dylan's not in my village, if that makes
But you're
sense.
in his,
But
right?
I'm in
Your job
his.
as his mom is to support him.
Exactly. And
And
right, I'll be
in
the
that codependent relationship, that has always been your job is to
yep,
support him.
that's what from day one.
So why would he all of a sudden think he needs to be supportive of you
Exactly.
if you've always created? And as you say that, right? I think about my oldest daughter. I adore her. I love her. I am her.
Yeah.
I mean, if she ever needed anything, no matter what it was, she could call me for sure. And we have a very mother-daughter relationship,
Right.
right? We had a conversation a couple of few weeks ago where it came to my awareness that we are very close. I adore her. She is 100% a part of my life. I would never, ever think otherwise. And we are very much mother daughter. We
Yeah.
are not friend to friend, right? Like, I am her mother. I am her support. I am her village. I am in
Yeah.
her village. But my responsibility is to her. It is not her
Right.
responsibility is to me, right? She is not my support. She is not my emotional venter. She is not
Hmm.
my go-to person for my personal issues.
Yep.
I am her mother. It's very different with my son.
I knew you were going to say that. I knew you were going to say that.
Well, I mean, it's very different with
Yeah.
him because I don't know. We just our relationship is just different. And I do feel like when I need to vent and I
Yeah.
need emotional support, I can go to him and he is able to take that this is my mom out of it and just
Yes.
see me as a human being.
That's Colin. I think that's really, and he's right. He's still both of. I think both of our sons are the same age, but
Yeah.
I think
Zeb's
this.
married and lives on his own
Yeah.
now.
Right. It's crazy. But I think Colin is very much the same way, where I can, when he says, "Mom, you need anything? Are you okay?" He's truly asking because it matters to him. And so when I need to vent, but he's also the person that's going to call me on my shit too.
Right.
So, right, when I'm over
Yeah,
here,
Jeb will definitely call me on my shit.
shit.
He'll be
I
like,
mean,
Ma, really? What are you doing?
exactly. And first of all, I love being called on my shit. But I mean, it's not comfortable always, but I do love it. But, like I said earlier with Colin, just where work now is so overwhelming and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, I'm just so, and he's like, well, Mom, you asked for it. Right? You said you were bored, so maybe you shouldn't have said you were bored. So it's, he gives me that dose of reality that I need. And he's right. And so now when I start to feel overwhelmed and I think it's a lot, I have to remember, you asked for this, Dawn. You asked for
Right. And
this.
he's able to do it in a way that doesn't make you feel attacked.
Right. If Dylan said that, my mother said that, I don't know. Dylan and I are growing. He's growing. I'm growing. So maybe it would be a little bit better. Oh, my mother said that and my skin would crawl. Just being
Right.
real.
Right. And she could use the exact same words,
Exactly same tone,
but
same words, same everything. And I would
but
just,
it would be perceived very different.
mhm.
Right. And that's our relationships. That's our history. That is our right. I can think of and then I think of my relationship with my youngest daughter, and I don't want to leave her out because it is a very, very
Yeah.
different relationship too, right? She's only 13. So it's still very much a mother-child
Hmm.
relationship. But at the same time, there's also this level of independence along with a level of intimacy that is
But
I don't know, it's outstanding.
she's your recovery relationship.
Yeah, I've been in recovery for 4 years and she's 13.
Yeah.
So it is definitely my recovery. It's just this, it's a perception, right? It's a
Hmm.
mindset. When Destiny, my oldest daughter, was 13, my mindset was, I need to prepare her for this world.
Yeah.
And Cameron being 13, my mindset is, she's already prepared for this world. I just need to love her and accept her and give her the support that she
Right.
needs.
Like I think Dylan was always protect, make sure he's safe, make sure that he's prepared, make sure like this. I use this analogy, I don't know if it was with you or not, but my Superman cape. With Dylan, I always put my Superman cape on. You know how like
No
when you
matter what,
right? And it's so
no
every
matter what, man of steel, woman of steel, mom of steel, nothing could
I'm
get in, nothing could hurt me.
no.
I would never stop. I was Superwoman. Yes.
Yes. But the problem with that is the way he is now. was because of my cape.
Right. It's impossible to live up to. I can't be superwoman to an adult.
No.
They
And
see
so,
me for me.
right. And I protected him so much that he couldn't grow. The difference with Colin is I just stand back. I don't put my cape on anymore because my cape is not sustainable, number one.
I don't even have a cape anymore.
Right? Exactly. But Colin, if he struggles, if he right, he's learning to be stronger. He's learning to navigate this world. I'm there if he needs me, if he needs has a question, if he needs guidance, if he needs, right? I'm there. But those
It,
struggles have made him who he is and continue to make him who he is.
it's almost like it is. It's not almost like it is like by not putting that cape on, by not being superwoman, super mom, by allowing my youngest and my
Hmm.
son to see me fail, to see me
Yes.
hurt, to see me cry, to see me make mistakes, they were able to see that I'm a human being,
Right.
and they were able to see that it's okay for them to do the same things. With my oldest daughter, I worked so hard to be
Yeah.
everything that she still expects me to be everything. And I'm really struggling to put my human being aside and to keep my super mom in the forefront.
Yes. Yeah, that exactly the same thing I feel with Dylan. Exactly. And
It's
it's
it's like I can't feel emotions and I can't be disappointed and I have to always be the
and
person I
you know what
portrayed.
popped into my head when we were saying this and we were talking about the is I don't want to there's if I'm those things, if, I'm going to let Dylan down.
Right. That's exactly what it is. That is exactly, I have to be perfect because if I'm not perfect, if I have a hole, if I crumble, if my armor has any issue, then my daughter is going to be disappointed.
Yep. And there would be nothing worse to me than my child being disappointed in me.
Yeah. And at the same time, by allowing them to see it, right? The other side of that, right? So by not allowing my daughter to see it, it seems like she has grown to a place where she doesn't feel like she's allowed
Right.
to feel those
Yeah.
things. She's a mom now, so she has to be perfect.
Yeah. You know, one of the things Dylan told me, and I've told you this, but I'll share it again, was one of the things that Dylan told me a long time ago, early in recovery, was he hated when I would tell him I was proud of him. And I was like, but I'm proud of you. Like, right? And he's like, yeah, but when you tell me you're proud of me, you've set me up that I can't, that I'm going to fail. And I was like, what? He's like, yeah, I'm living my life for you to be proud of me. And so then if I, if I don't do something perfectly, then I failed because my level of expectation that I've had my entire life was for you to be proud of me. And so if I do something that you might I can think you might not be proud of me, I failed. And I was like, "Oh shit." I
But
never
see, that's on him.
It is on him.
And,
It is on
and I
him.
get it. I get not saying I'm proud of you because you don't want to make him feel that.
Hmm.
I see where you're going. And I've looked at this a couple of times as we've talked about it. And I've actually really taken it in to try to decide if I wanted to do that with my children as well. And what I've started doing is instead of saying I'm proud of you, I've said something like I'm really impressed by this and this
That's
and
it.
this.
See, that's what I got from it. Right? That's how I've changed it. For him, the I'm proud of you was an expectation that I had that he thought I had of him.
Right,
Right?
right.
And it is his. But I can also, in my recovery, be okay. I can be cognitive of something my son says to me, and I can choose to do it differently because I acknowledge the fact that triggers are real. And my mother does not consider me, right? When she says something.
Well, right. I
And
mean, if we just think about the words, I'm proud of you. I like what you did. I feel happy that you
yep,
did what I wanted you to, right? Like, I'm proud of you does not at all tell my child that they did something that they should be proud of
right.
or that they did
It's
something that they wanted, right? It's all about me.
yes. Exactly. And so like you said, what I've done, and I have Googled it when I've wanted he's done something and I've wanted to say I'm proud of you, knowing that it's about me, I've Googled that shit. And right, then it gives me this alternate way of saying it that makes it about him.
Right. One of the
Right.
things, like, I love telling Cameron, um, I'm really impressed that you were
Yes.
able to do this and this and this. And I never even thought of that. Like, just ways that, when I was your age, I had that situation happen and I never even considered this or this
Right.
like you did. Just ways to say that without saying, I'm proud of you.
Something that I've said I will say to him too is like, you're doing a really good job navigating this.
Yeah.
Right? You're doing a really good job navigating it. It's that, and that's a safe for me. That's like, I think that's a very safe thing, right? That doesn't mean he's doing great. It's not doing, but he's navigating this with his choices, and I think you're doing a great job, right? Because part of life is not failing,
Making mistakes.
making mistakes. Part of life is
I mean, part of life is failing. Let's look at that, right? Because failing means you got up there, you tried, you didn't succeed, and you never did it again.
right,
Getting up there, trying and not succeeding, that's failing, sure. The key is that you do it again,
right,
right? So, I mean, listen, if I get up in the morning and my goal is to clean my entire house and I don't get my house clean today, did I fail? Well, maybe, but I'm going to do it again tomorrow. And then tomorrow I'm going to succeed. So it's not really a failure because I did it until I succeeded.
right.
That makes it practice.
Yeah. And I think that for me, my relationship with Dylan has improved because I'm just letting him have space, letting him navigate his world. That doesn't mean I'm not there for him. That doesn't mean right? It doesn't mean he's not in my village. I am there. I am his ride or die.
Absolutely. Yes.
But he,
And frankly, like when I think about it, I cannot ever picture my being in the car with my people,
mhm.
and not picture my oldest daughter,
Oh,
my son, and my youngest daughter in the car with me. No matter what, those are my people.
right, right. They are that, yeah. If I had to choose who was with me and like the final, it's them. It's those two people. At the end of the day, that's those two people. I want them.
Yes,
They're
no
just
matter what.
yep,
Period. End of story.
end of story. And I also can say, as I say that, they would be the same,
Yeah. Oh, I have no doubt.
right?
All three of
It's
mine too. I have no doubt.
no doubt.
They're my ride or die, and vice versa.
Exactly. Right. I need something, right? They, was what it's like I would kill for them, they would kill for me.
Right.
We are
I
ride or
have to
dies.
know. I have to know what is right. I have to read the room. I
Yeah.
have to know what is appropriate conversation with this child, with this child, and with this child, because they are three separate people. And what I can do with one is different
Yeah.
than what the other likes. And what the other likes is different than what the other likes. So I have to be aware of that. And I have to be aware of like where this relationship is and what is safe for this relationship. But
And
that doesn't,
maintain me in that relationship.
yes. And that doesn't mean that they're different, like they're different relationships, but that doesn't mean that I love one more than the other. It's just different.
Right. Nobody's less than, nobody's more than. They're just different.
Right. It's the same level of intensity. It's just a different person.
Right. So, so yeah, lots going on right now. A lot of I'm being challenged. Right? I'm not these are things that I've asked for, and I would just say be careful what you ask for. Or not what you ask for, how you ask for it. Make sure
Yeah.
you're specific. Make sure you're very specific. Because HP does give you what you ask for.
I'm super excited to hear about this weekend for you. I am super
I'm
excited for you.
I'm so nervous. I mean, I'm not nervous.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
I literally have imagined and I can imagine. And I am so excited for you. I'm nervous for you. I'm anxious for you, but I'm also very excited for you because really, like, worst case scenario is still amazing.
Right. Um, and I'm not nervous. It's like it's not really even about him. I'm more but I'm God, I'm over here crying. For me, this is a real test of my recovery.
Confidence in yourself and faith in yourself. You've worked really, really hard to get here.
I know. And it's like, right, it's
And you're
this
here.
I'm here and but it's right, I had to take that conscious step back and I had to sit in me, which I still believe for me was the best thing I ever did because I don't think I would be where I'm at today with this situationship. But I'm also I'm scared I'm scared my recovery is not as strong.
What do they say we need to do with the things that make us scared? Usually, if it scares us, it's something that what? We need to run away from,
Oh no, no, no. I gotta just face it head on.
right? If it's something
Right.
that scares us, we need to run into it.
Yeah. And that's what I'm doing. I
Full speed ahead, baby.
full speed ahead. It is what it is. It is right. Worst case, like you said, it's a weekend. I have whatever and it's okay. It'll
Man,
be
worst
okay.
case, you have some bad sex and
That's what I
bad
was thinking,
conversation, and
right?
he goes home, right? Like, who cares?
Right?
And best case, you have a lifelong friend.
Exactly.
That's, it's worth it. It's worth the risk. It's worth the fear. It's worth
Hmm.
just plow on head first, full speed ahead. Just get in there and do it.
Yeah. And I think again, this is because this is a potential romantic partner that that's where a lot of the fear comes in,
Yes.
right? That because that's where I feel like I've been so unsuccessful because of my own personal trauma.
Self sabotage.
Yes. And and again, it's like I can sit here and say all this right now, but it's already been different. It's already being different. And I honestly, this is the ultimate test of my recovery.
It's
And
important to remind
try,
yourself that it's already been different and it already is different. And don't give it so much power. This is not the ultimate test of your recovery.
that's what I actually,
It's just another day in the life.
I was going to reword it because it's not a test of my recovery. I've been testing my recovery from since day one. This,
Absolutely.
this is the ultimate trust of my recovery.
I like that way better. I think that's amazing. I like that way better. This is put your faith in it.
Yeah,
Put your faith in yourself and know that you are lovable, loving, and loved no matter what. And this is going to be an amazing weekend.
it will be. It will be whatever it's supposed to be. So 2 weeks we'll be back podcasting. Obviously, there'll be a lot to talk about.
I'm excited.
Oh, I'm that's the other thing. I love that I have this and you to be able to, and I like tomorrow night, I know is going to be a lot of, for me, this is a lot of this conversation. This week is going to be a lot of this conversation. Um, and then, and I know that, and that's okay. This is where I'm at in this moment. Um, and then I'm excited to share. I'm just excited to share whatever happens, and um, we'll see. We'll see. So thank you for listening to me today.
Thanks for sharing today. It's been such a great podcast. I
It
love
was.
this.
I said to you this, we were talking back and forth, like, da, da, but then I'm like, I know after we're done, I'm gonna be like, I'm so glad we did this. And
Yep, me too,
that's what
always.
happened. So, all right, everyone, have an amazing couple of weeks, and we will talk to you soon.
Yeah, thanks everyone. Have a great week and we'll talk to you soon. All right.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
We would like to thank you for joining us on this journey of self-discovery. Visit the Work It website at workityouareworthit.com to submit your questions and topics for future episodes. And remember, work it because you are worth it.